All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I want to call today's podcast is don't think you won't get your ass kicked. So I do a ton of traveling. And I see a ton of different things, especially I'm in a lot of major cities. And I see fights, arguments. I'm in a lot of bars, restaurants. I grew up in the nightclub business. If you listen to any of my podcast, you know this. And I grew up in an environment where there was, I guess you could say, a certain amount of violence because I liked being around that environment. I liked fighting. I liked boxing. I liked wrestling. I just liked hand-to-hand combat. There was no MMA back then. Even though I'd have probably loved that the most, the mixing, because I'm pretty good at fighting, but I'm not really good at boxing, if that makes sense, to a certain degree. I'm not a great boxer. I could still throw blows, but what I want to talk about on this podcast is something that I briefly touched on before, and that is men and women learning how to protect themselves and how important this is, especially women. I think a lot of times when we think, we gotta, protect ourselves, right? I think for some reason, a lot of it falls on the man to protect the woman. It's that way, or men got to be the ones to do if a fight breaks out, even if you're with your girlfriend or something breaks out, the man's got to take care of it and all that. I'm telling you, if any women are listening to this, you have to understand you are an independent person and you may run into the wrong person at the wrong time in your life, and you individually need to know how to protect yourself. I preach this to my daughters all the time. And, if you can't protect yourself, who is going to? You can't depend on the police. You can't expect, especially now more than ever, I think, people out there protecting you, because now it's become so and I just did a podcast on this. I just saw two fights in New York. Well, they weren't necessarily fights, but I was in Times Square, came out of my hotel, and a guy and a girl got in a jam. I don't know what he did. I think he hit her. He knocked her down. I'm not sure how he knocked her down, but it was about to go down. And then I'm thinking, I just wanted to diffuse it. I don't like any man hitting a woman. Then they took off together. And then I saw another one near a taco place I liked. Another screaming match, pushing each other. I think these two were homeless. A lot of chaos in New York. But my point being is, a lot of times people, I don't think, are going to step in and start protecting you necessarily, because if they hit you to protect you hitting someone, like if you're getting hit and they step in and hit the other person, for one, they're afraid they're going to get stabbed or shot, but then they could sue you and all this bullshit. And who knows, they could put you on social media and blast. And, all these different types of things where I don't think it was like that before. But put that aside. A lot of times I used to go around and say, when you think of fighting somebody, don't think of one-on-one. Think of one-on-three. And I know that sounds crazy. Because a lot of times when you fight, if you learn how to fight one-on-one, and I'm not some great fighter. I haven't fought in years, but I could still, I'm sure, handle myself. I'm dying to get back to doing some martial art, doing something. Not necessarily martial arts. I think I want to just go into self-defense, but more destructive, where every blow is kind of a deadly kind of blow. But when I think of fighting, a lot of times, one-on-one is kind of simple, unless the guy's a beast and he's a badass and he's going to kick the shit out of you. That's a different type of dude. But a lot of people, as you know, they throw haymakers. They don't really know how to fight necessarily. Some are tougher than others. I get that too. But you can kind of one-on-one, you could dance around, you can move around and kind of, as long as you're kind of calm in a fight, but most people aren't. They freak out and they just, like I said, start throwing windmills, haymakers, sucker punching, kind of a lot of bullshit. But a lot of times you got to realize when you get in a jam, especially on the streets, you're not always fighting just one person. And I've been in many of these situations where they have a friend. So you're going to be fighting maybe two of them, or who knows, you may be fighting three of them. So you don't know a lot of times. You don't know what's going to happen to you in certain environments. You may be in a bar and you get in a jam with somebody or wherever, and before you know it, it's just you two, and then out of nowhere, there's a group of other people. And I'm not telling you necessarily that you got to go out and learn how to fight tons of people, because it's brutal to fight three people. I don't care who you are. That's really hard. But what I do want you to learn or understand that, again, is you got to just be aware of your surroundings, and when fighting, how to protect yourself or how to get out of a fight and avoid fights as well. A lot of us don't realize how we kind of some shit can go down and then you make it a lot worse than it is. You didn't even need to get in a fight. Before you know it, you get punched in the mouth, all your teeth are knocked out, and at the end of the day, no one wins. You could try to sue them, you don't know who it was, or or he may be broke, or whatever the case may be. You may never find him again. You may get hit from behind the head with a bottle. Who knows? Anything can happen to you. And I'm not just saying people in bars are strangers. This can happen with family members, friends, and colleagues. There's so many fights throughout a lot of people's lives, and it usually comes unexpected. And I don't care who you think you hang around with, a certain type of people, sophisticated people. You can't control the environment, especially if you're someone like me. I travel. I'm in different restaurants, bars, and just in general, I see so many different things because I'm in so many different places. And even in LA, San Francisco, there's a lot of homeless. I see a lot of things going down there, and all of a sudden you can be caught up in something that you have no idea how you got there, right? You can end up with a Uber Lyft guy who gets aggravated at you and steps out and wants to fight you. I don't know, but don't underestimate anyone. But you got to learn how to protect yourself. Again, men and women, all right? I try to emphasize this. I can't emphasize this enough. And also, what I think, I've been very fortunate. Now, something can happen to me tomorrow. But I think my disposition when I travel, I look like an animal a lot of times. The way I walk, act, maybe I don't talk like that. But I have a look, and I send that signal out, because when I used to even collect money, when we used to gamble, and I used to collect money all over the state of Florida, I had to have a disposition where if you're going to make a move on me, it's going to be war. It's just I have the face for it. I used to be a lot bigger. I'm still not that. I'm still 200 pounds, and I still work out a lot. But if you look at some people, you just know they know how to handle themselves. And I'm not saying I'm some Navy SEAL or any of that shit, or some military guy. None of that. Please don't But I do know, how to protect myself on a pretty decent level. And I know they know if something goes down, I'm not a pushover, I presume. I would think. I've heard this from so many people throughout my life, so I get it. And I'm not telling you or anybody else to change their demeanor, but maybe if you are at night, or you find yourself in a situation or whatever, you just where people, once you learn how to protect yourself, I wouldn't fake this, because if you're going to walk around and try to pretend to be a badass, that's not what I'm telling you either. But if you look like you know how to hold your own, it's going to go a long way. Because a lot of guys, the last thing they want to do sometimes is mess around with somebody who they know can maybe destroy them, or maybe not. A lot of times they're going to pick or bully on somebody that they think that they can beat up, or that they think they can push around. Same with women. One of my daughters just told me some weird stat that if you're under the height, I don't want to blow this, but anyways, if you're under a certain height, a lot of women under this height get raped or taken advantage of, where a lot of women that are taller, it doesn't happen to, which I was kind of blown away by that. I never thought about it from that perspective, but I guess a lot of taller women, they think they're stronger, I don't know. But that was really, really interesting. The same with men. Obviously, if you got a guy that's 6'4", even if he's thinner, is the average guy who that's 180 pounds, 5'7" to 5'9", is he going to really want to mess with a guy who's 6'4"? That's, you know what I mean? Probably not, to a certain degree. But again, if he looks weak or whatever, that could happen. But when it comes back to you, please, I'm telling you, don't underestimate you thinking you're never going to get in a fight, or you're not going to get your ass kicked when you may. The one thing you have to also understand is, if you do get your ass kicked, how bad is it going to be? You may get jumped. You may, like I said, get hit from behind. You may be attacked by who the hell knows. But you've got to understand that the one thing you have to protect in your life is you as a human being, is your body, your mind, your brain, everything. Again, you can't expect other people to protect it for you. And I'm always alone, so I'm always thinking in defense, right? A lot of us, I think, live in some lifestyle, and I see this with a lot of my friends and everybody, especially middle-aged, like, I'm never going to get in a jam again. And guess what? My buddy was at a taco place just having tacos. A couple guys got rough with him, or got a little goofy, and before you know it, and he's an animal from New York, even though he's, once he grabbed them, one of them, I guess it straightened out real fast. But again, he knows how to handle himself. He's like, I couldn't, and then he said, oh my God, I was sore for 2-3 days. He says, I didn't even, sometimes you underestimate some people think they're a lot tougher than they are. Some people think they are as tough as they once were, which they're not. Some people think they're in better shape than they are. All these different types of things you have to take, in consideration. And I know an old timer too, I felt bad a few years back, and my uncle owned a diner, and I guess there was an altercation, and then outside somewhere, this old timer ran into somebody young, and the old timer got cocky with him, kept saying shit. And in Chicago, a lot of egos, a lot of Italians, a lot of Irish, a lot of Polish, a lot of whatever, and he got cocky, and the young dude later, just beat the shit out of him. He didn't want to take it anymore. And then I remember my uncle saying, he shouldn't have beat the shit out of the old timer. And I agree. I don't think, younger guys beating the hell out of older men is anything. But I am going to say this, and I've said it before. A lot of older people, old timers, and I'm talking me guys 60s, 70s, even 80s, especially if they're like guys that grew up in certain environments where they're hotheads. And I could just speak for Italians a lot of times. They keep running at the mouth. And, then they end up at a situation where they get beat, they get the shit kicked out of them. They could have avoided a lot of that. And especially now, a lot of young guys, they train MMA, they do jiu-jitsu, they lift weights. It ain't 1972 here, you know what I mean? These guys can deliver vicious blows. They can choke you out. And if you're older, listen to my podcast, or even younger, be very aware what you say sometimes to people, because sometimes they take it the wrong way. And if they're drinking or if they're on drugs, don't think that they're not going to attack you. And sometimes when someone attacks you, I think a lot of times we think, oh yeah, I'll get in a fight, hit me a few times, couple blows, and if it doesn't, they'll just walk away. It's not like that a lot of times. A lot of times before you know it, they're stepping on your head, kicking you in the face, or who knows what they're doing to you. They could be hitting you with, a weapon, whatever the case may be. And this can go, I say this myself, and sometimes I get huffy-puffy when I'm driving with road rage. I don't care if you're a man or woman, you're going to usually run into an incident in your life more than once regarding somebody you've either cut off or they're cutting you off. Before you know it, you're in an altercation. Before you know it, you both pull up to the light. They're saying something to you, they're flicking you off, or they get out of the car. Now, you may lock your door, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't, or they get their hands on you, or they can shoot you. Or they can have a weapon, and I've seen that too. I've even seen guys get out and use tennis rackets to knock through people's windows. I've seen so much shit I can't even explain to you over the years. Some is hilarious, some isn't. But yeah, back to you. Please learn how to protect yourself. That, again, doesn't mean you have to go out and become a black belt, right? That doesn't mean you got to go out and go out and become a fighter where you got to go into tournaments. Or if you're a boxer, you got to go, start fighting people. Whatever the case may be, just go to a gym or go find somewhere where even if you get, hitting the mitts, hitting a bag, somebody properly showing you how to throw a punch. And that's one thing I'm having a problem with, is because I have shoulder injuries and issues with one of them. I can't even throw a punch correctly lately. But when I go back to learn, I want to do hand-to-hand combat, but on my feet. I used to love wrestling and rolling around, but if I get in a jam or something ever happens to me, I don't want to roll around. I don't want to do jiu-jitsu, and I would hate to run across one of them guys. I just want to be able to kind of sprawl or make movements where I'm just making every blow's hopefully a striking blow. I'm just too old for it. I'm not going to be rolling around. I'm not going to be lifting up guys. I could probably still lift guys and slam them on their head, but I definitely don't want to be rolling around on the concrete 50, 60, 70 years old. It takes too long to heal. The bones are just more brittle, just the reality compared to a younger guy or whoever it is. And if you're somebody who wants to start learning how to protect themselves, you first have to figure out what you like to do. You could do anything. I mean, I don't care if you want to go try judo. You could try, you could even try wrestling for all I give a shit. On the mats. You might want to try some boxing classes. You may want to go try all different types of martial arts. Obviously, there's all different levels and different styles. It just depends on what you're looking for. I never liked that, even though my mother took me at like 5 years old. I got bored with all the movements they wanted you to memorize. I wanted more action. I just wasn't disciplined to do that. Never was. I was good with wrestling with those movements for some reason. I liked lifting and slamming and, all the same old bullshit. But for some reason with martial arts, with, all the different hand movements and all the different style kicks and stuff, maybe now I'd be a little more disciplined. I should actually consider it. But I still love weights, and that takes up a lot of time. And I like, I still like being muscular and big and strong. But if you're somebody who, if you feel weak, you don't feel confident sometimes in environments where you feel like everybody could kind of kick the shit out of you, you really need to start, building up some confidence and realizing you have a lot of strengths. You probably have a lot of skills. You just haven't developed them yet. Don't look at your don't look at the ability you have now. Because a lot of people, and I was one of these, I was very coordinated and very strong even at a very young age. I had a lot of ability. I was very fast. I could jump very high. Now that I look back, I was just smaller. But I had all these gifts. I'm not going to lie, I still have them. And a lot of people don't have those gifts. They start off. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people that end up, I think, becoming or succeeding in life regarding working out or anything are the ones that started off with the least ability, but they developed it over the years. They had the most drive to keep going, because I think a lot of people who have, very coordinated, great genetics, they take it for granted. They don't push themselves to the limit. Some do, obviously, and they become professional athletes. That's a different level. But I'm talking about the average Joe out there that, I know a lot of people that weren't fast, that literally run marathons, that are amazing. I know a lot of people that weren't that strong, became bodybuilders. Not saying they were super strong, but they ended up with incredible bodies. That's what I'm saying. Don't sell yourself short, is really what I'm saying. But definitely, one of the things you should focus in on your life before anything is taking some type of class, men or women, how to protect yourselves. And it's not only protecting yourself. You have to realize if you're going to have a family, or if you live at home with your parents, grandparents, elderly, if something goes down, who is going to protect them, right? Who's going to do that? You can't pick up a phone and call 911 sometimes and think that the police are going to arrive and everything's going to be fine. Usually a lot of things that go down, they go down very quickly in a matter of minutes, sometimes seconds. So, you just have to be very, very aware of that, right? And the last thing you want to do, usually, at least I don't want to see anybody get hurt, right? So you want to be able to also, stop things from escalating a lot of times. And when you know how to fight or you know how to stand your own, you don't always have to fight. When people know just by your stance and what you're doing and how to talk and maybe the way you move your hands or just trying to diffuse things will go a long, long way. Right? If you don't know how to protect yourself, you don't know how to diffuse things, and you don't know anything, you're usually gonna get, things are not gonna go your way a lot of times because they're gonna think you're weak, or they could bully you or take advantage of you, and before you know it, they're taking advantage of a lot of people, and especially with women. I'm gonna tell you, please learn how to protect yourself, and also realize whenever there's an altercation, and this goes for, I'm not gonna say what type of situation it is, but if you end up in a very bad situation, a lot of times there's always something near you that you can grab to protect yourself. But I think a lot of times women don't want, because they don't do it enough, or they never did it, is hurt another human being. Even when trying to protect themselves, they'll let somebody hurt them sometimes, and they go numb or they go into shock or whatever the case may be, and that can happen. But a lot of times you have to realize there could be a lamp You could even use your phone. I'm just saying it's very hard. You can use certain things to hit someone in the head or hurt them. Now, I know a lot of times when you think about striking someone, you're thinking, oh my God, he's doing this to me. And this could be a dude on a dude too, don't get me wrong. If I do this, if I hurt him even more, he's going to even beat me up. It's going to get even worse. Well, sometimes you got to realize it's not just about one hit, say a lamp, for instance, if you're in a house or you're on a bed or something, somebody jumps you, or it could be anywhere, right? It could be your laptop you use for self-defense. You have to understand when you strike, you keep striking. You have to go on the offense now. You're not on the defense. That's the game changer. Now, don't get me wrong. He or she may get nuts and keep attacking you, but they were attacking you originally, and you have no idea what they were going to do to you. So you have to fight back. Sometimes you're in a situation in your life, it is all or nothing, so you have to resist. That's just sometimes how it goes, right? Because a lot of people, I think that this person is going to kind of hurt me, but not too bad. And before you know it, they murder you, they can stab you, they can rape you. You didn't think it'd go that bad, and it went real, real bad. And some of that could have been prevented. Not all of it. I'm not here to say. I just think sometimes some things can be prevented. And understand a lot of times when people end up in a lot of situations, people are drunk or on drugs too. So, and people a lot of times aren't in as good a shape, like I said earlier. So you may think this guy or girl or whoever's attacking you or whatever the case may be, they're going to keep going and keep going. No, things like I told you, they usually end very quickly. So something just to think about if you're listening to this podcast, because I definitely want people to protect themselves, because you never know when something's going to go down. And it's just life. You can't control other people's behavior. And I mean, if you know the military, the police, or anything, the one thing that they have to learn first and foremost is how to protect. You know what I mean? The military is protecting our country, and obviously the police are protecting our city and state, and you have everybody in between there. But you should be looking at yourself the same way. Who's protecting you, your home, your family, and if you have kids, your significant other, and hopefully if you're married or whatever, or in a relationship, whatever, maybe do it together sometimes. That's really, I think, a fun way to go about it. And maybe even taking your kids, because I think building confidence in your kids especially at a young age, that if somebody or something goes down, they know how to handle their own, and they've been doing it for year after year after year. It's very acceptable, where all of a sudden sometimes maybe you may have kids that have never been in a fist fight or may never been attacked, and then all of a sudden they go to college, and as you know, the game changes very quickly. So maybe you got to toughen up your kids. I really believe that. So all right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, I've been doing a lot of YouTube videos on fitness, things of that nature. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And so, yeah. All right. Take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels.